ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಶುಭೋದಯ. Good morning to one and all present here. ಪಾರಂಪರಿಕ ತ್ಯಾಜ್ಯ ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆ ಕುರಿತು ಪೌರಾಡಳಿತ ನಿರ್ದೇಶನಾಲಯ, ಫೆಡರಲ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಕೋಆಪರೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ಟೈಡ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಬೋರ್ಡಾದವರ ಸಹಯೋಗದೊಂದಿಗೆ ಈ ಸಮ್ಮೇಳನವನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತ, ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಈ ಸಮ್ಮೇಳನಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರುವ ಗಣ್ಯರನ್ನು ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕೆಂದು ಕೋರಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೇನೆ.
Elrigu namaskara. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed my pleasure to request the dignitaries to kindly come over. I would request Honorable Justice Shri Subhash B, Chairman NGO SLC, to kindly come over. Srimati Ms Archana, Director of Urban Development Department, kindly come over, madam. We also have with us Shri Achim Burkart, Consul General of Germany, Bengaluru. Welcome to you, Mr Burkart. Shri Stanzin Sefel, Regional Director of BORDA SA, to kindly come over.
ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಶ್ರೀದೇವಿ ಅವರ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸೋಣ.
ವಿದ್ಯೆಯ ಕೊಡು ನೀನು ನಮಗೆ ಇಂದು ನಮ್ಮಯ ಲಂಬೋದರ, ನೀ ನಮ್ಮಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾಧರ. ವಿದ್ಯೆಯ ಕೊಡು ನೀನು ನಮಗೆ ಇಂದು ನಮ್ಮಯ ಲಂಬೋದರ, ನೀ ನಮ್ಮಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾಧರ. ಪಾರ್ವತಿ ಸುತನಾಗಿ ಜನಿಸಿದ ನೀನು ಶಿವನ ಕೋಪಕ್ಕೆ ಬಲಿಯಾದೆ. ಪಾರ್ವತಿ ಸುತನಾಗಿ ಜನಿಸಿದ ನೀನು ಶಿವನ ಕೋಪಕ್ಕೆ ಬಲಿಯಾದೆ. ಆದರೂ ನೀನೇ ಪ್ರಥಮ ವಂದಿತ, ಎಲ್ಲರ ಅಧಿದೇವ ನೀನೇ ಗಣಪ, ಎಲ್ಲರ ಅಧಿದೇವ ನೀನೇ ಆಗಿ. ಗಣಪತಿ ಎನ್ನಿಸಿ ಪೂಜೆಯ ಗಳಿಸಿ, ನಿನ್ನನೆ ನಂಬಿದ ಭಕುತರ ಭೀಷ್ಟವ, ನಿನ್ನನೆ ನಂಬಿದ ಭಕುತರ ಭೀಷ್ಟವ ಸಲಿಸೋ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ವರ, ಸಲಿಸೋ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ವರ. ವಿದ್ಯೆಯ ಕೊಡು ನೀನು ನಮಗೆ ಇಂದು ನಮ್ಮಯ ಲಂಬೋದರ, ನೀ ನಮ್ಮಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾಧರ, ನಮ್ಮಯ ಲಂಬೋದರ, ನೀ ನಮ್ಮಯ ವಿದ್ಯಾಧರ.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would request Srimati Ms Archana to kindly give saplings, as our conference is also environment friendly. First of all, to Honorable Justice Shri Subhash B ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಸಿಯನ್ನು ಸ್ವೀಕರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ವಿನಂತಿ. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's have the energy going. ಬರ್ಲಿ ಜೋರಾದ ಚಪ್ಪಾಳೆ. The more we clap, the more energized we are. I would also request Madam to kindly give a bouquet to Shri Achim Burkart. She stands in Sefel. Hearty welcome to you, Mr. Stanzin. And as a token of love and affection on behalf of the entire team, I would request the Director of Urban Development Department, Srimati Archana, to kindly accept a sapling.
ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ದೀಪ ಬೆಳಗಿಸುವ ಮೂಲಕ ಚಾಲನೆ ನೀಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಣ್ಯರಿಗೂ ಕೋರಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೇನೆ.
The traditional lighting of the lamp will signify the beginning of this conference and will go a long way towards imparting the very purpose of this conference. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's our
ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಹರೀಶ್ ಕುಮಾರ್, ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಕಮಿಷನರ್ SWM BBMP ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಬಯಸುತ್ತೇನೆ.
I would request Dr. Harish to kindly accept this sapling. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we start the conference, as we are all aware, this conference will focus on tackling legacy waste, key challenges, technology options and business models, the experience sharing, case studies from selected ULBs and SWM practitioners, and also the policy interventions, discussion on regulations, bottlenecks and further courses of action. At the outset, I would request the Senior Advisor of BORDA SA, Shri Manas Rath, for the opening remarks. Mr. Manas Rath.
Thank you very much, and good morning and welcome to everyone. On behalf of BORDA and TIDE, It is my pleasure to invite you all to this workshop on behalf of the DMA. And it is our pleasure to support the DMA in organizing this workshop on managing legacy waste in the towns of Karnataka. Now, we all know that this is an important issue. Legacy waste sites and landfills have been a huge problem, not only in India, but in countries across the world. And, we obviously know and we'll be hearing today a lot more about the environment and the health consequences, the air pollution, water pollution that these landfills are creating and contributing to to reducing the quality of life in and around our cities, to the problems of global and climate change and other global issues. One statistic that hit me when I started in my early days of working on waste is in Mumbai, where I live. The waste pickers who work on and near landfills live an average of 13 years less than people of their similar socio-economic class, right? So it's 13 years of reduced life. And of course the quality of that life is a whole different aspect. What is even more, maybe equally shocking, is that people who live near landfills, and of course generally what you find is low income groups that are forced to live near landfills, or rather that we force our garbage onto people who cannot fight back as effectively. You find that residents who live near landfills have a lifespan which is about 4 to 6 years, and of course a lot more health problems, respiratory problems, etc. And increasingly we are seeing issues of fires as temperatures go up, the leaching of waste as rains come down and flooding happens, and so on. So as solid waste management activities are gradually improving in this country, over the last several years, you've seen the Swachh Bharat mission, Amrut, smart cities, and there has been a pretty significant improvement in the collection of waste, the transportation, segregation, and recycling. It's also important that we clean up all the past problems that we have created. And therefore it is extremely positive and very important that the DMA has taken the administrative and also the financial leadership to work on this issue of legacy waste. With regard to what is going on and why we are here today, so I'll just give a quick introduction to BORDA and to TIDE. BORDA has experience working on legacy landfills in at least 3 cities of India. We have been working in Leh, in Ladakh, and then more close to Bengaluru in Chintamani and Chikbalapur, and you'll hear later today about what's been going on, so I won't go into that. For over 40 years, BORDA has worked in India and in many other countries across the world on various urban and rural issues, including wastewater treatment, decentralized sanitation, 24/7 water supply, fecal sludge management, and energy. And what we hope is we can bring an integrated approach to looking at not each problem separately, but really looking at all our water and waste issues as part of a larger problem of how we urbanize and how we create societies that are more sustainable for the environment, and also improve the quality of lives of people and improve the quality of lives of all people, whether they're rich or poor, men, women, different ages. That's sort of our goal. We have been supporting municipalities and governments through research, capacity building programs and workshops like this one, product development, preparing DPRs and technical reports, multi-stakeholder dialogues, and also executing projects and public-private partnerships like what we have done in Ladakh. We're currently working with 10 small towns across South Asia and many more across the world. TIDE is a 30-year-old NGO that is focused on holistic social and environmental protection and development. Their focus really has been on leveraging technology to protect the environment, create livelihoods, and create social change. They initiated a lot of the legacy solid waste work in Ladakh, where there's over 1 lakh tons of solid waste accumulated over the decades. And now they're working, BORDA and TIDE are working in 2 towns, Chintamani and Chikbalapur, which have about 40,000 metric tons each of accumulated legacy waste. So it's not a huge problem, it's not a small problem, but it's an important problem that needs to get addressed as quickly as possible. The program today has got 3 main parts after we have the special addresses by our eminent guests. We have some excellent case studies from small and large cities. which will help us understand the end-to-end process of how to take care of dump sites, what to do with the land, after, what preparation is required, and how to create successful projects so that we all get the end goal that we want. We then have presentations and a panel discussion after lunch, which will focus on technologies, the operational aspects, and the financial costs of such projects. And finally, later in the afternoon, we'll have a great panel discussion about the policies, regulations, and the procurement mechanisms, which are very important to make sure that these are done transparently and cost effectively. Now, the objective of the DMA in hosting this workshop, or calling for this workshop, is to start the conversation about landfill remediation, to bring everyone on the same page, and to create a certain common set of knowledge and language so that we all can move forward as quickly as possible in the years to come to take care of these issues. And therefore, the goal of this workshop is to understand the basics and to understand what the first steps need to be so that the process is set in the right direction and can move forward well. So therefore, today focuses on the basics of processes, technologies, the machines, the regulations, the costs, the budgets, so that each town can collect the right information, they can ask the right questions, they know how to create, take the first steps in creating the right kind of plan so that they can move in the right direction to solving this problem for themselves. So with that, welcome to this workshop on all our behalf. I now request our esteemed guests and keynote speakers to share their thoughts and their wisdom with us, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shri Manas Rath, for giving us an insight into what is in store for all of us. And as you are all aware, Shri Manas Rath of BORDA is developed business models for PPPs, and he co-founded the Blue Water Company and is an advisor to several companies. So definitely we are in safe hands, and ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸಗಳು ಸಹ ಸಾಂಗವಾಗಿ ನಡೀಲಿ ಎನ್ನುವಂಥ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ದಿನದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳು ನಡೆಯುತ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದು ಕೂಲಂಕುಷವಾದ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಷ್ಕೃತವಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಧಾನಗಳ ಮುಖೇನ ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ತಿಳಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮಾನಸ್. ವೆಲ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಪ್ರಿವಿಲೇಜ್ ದಟ್ Hon'ble Justice Shri Subhash B, the chairman of NGT SLC Karnataka, is here. I would request Hon'ble Justice Subhash to kindly address all of us.
Very good morning to everyone here. Dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries of the dais, and the invitees. Indeed, it is a great workshop and throwing light on the very important aspect, legacy waste. Now, the topic chosen is the legacy waste, but I can mention it, increasing legacy waste. Now, the legacy waste, if you look behind, till 1972, there was nothing on record. Even UNO has not decided as to what is the impact of the environment, particularly of the solid waste. 72 UNO resolution made many of the countries to legislate a law. And India, after 14 years, in 1986, they brought the legislation, Environment Protection Act. Now, after that, even in the Environment Protection Act, there was no such definition of solid waste or legacy waste. Even today, there is no definition of legacy waste anywhere in the environment or the rules or anywhere. Nevertheless, there were some allied provisions in the criminal law, municipal law, and other things like nuisance and other things. These were the provisions which were taking care of this waste management. But nobody has understood what is the impact of this dumping. Now, this legacy waste is accumulated waste for over several decades. For example, our Bengaluru and the Karnataka state, if I had to speak, as per the statistics and as per the figures available, it is nearly more than 1.5 crores ton legacy waste is there in Karnataka, and the major substantial portion is in Bengaluru, that is more than 1.07 crores of the legacy waste. Now, it is covering hundreds of acres elsewhere also. Now, as it is mentioned by previous speaker, that the people living around our surrounding people, the villages, they are vitally affected by this kind of legacy waste, because there is a leachate which flows into the soil, and there is a contaminated water, and there is also contaminated air because of biomethane gas, greenhouse gas, which is generated out of it. I recollect my memories sometimes back, about a decades or so. There was a news item in the media saying that there is a fire coming from the ground. And most of the media described it as a gas, there is enough gas storage in the soil. But it was a waste which was buried in it generated biomethane gas, and there was a fire. And many fire accidents are taking place in the legacy waste. The management of legacy waste is a Herculean task today. Today there are dumping sites, several dumping sites, and in Bengaluru itself we have 7 sites also. And about 10 years or 15 years back, there was a huge amount of agitation because of this, the menace of this legacy waste, particularly creating environmental problem. Mandur, for example, Mandur. Now, this opened the eyes. Now, the Supreme Court also was dealing with these matters, many right from 1996, after this, the Environment Protection Act. Now, how to bring it, the judicial activism you may call it, or otherwise, the Supreme Court brought under Article 32, right to live means right to live with a good air and good water and good environment. It's the right to live. That is our right from 1988, now 2003. Then the question arises, what about the developments? Because one side you have to make a sustainable living, and other side development. So balance it also, there is a decision by the Supreme Court how to balance it all. Now every time the judicial proceedings are taking place for the purpose of regulating these procedures, even for the legacy waste, the waste management, it started only by the Supreme Court by constituting a committee and monitoring it by itself. And thereafter it matter was went to the National Green Tribunal, and 2016, the first time the central government frames the rules. There were rules 2010, but for the first time regulating the waste management, that comes in 2016. Now 2016 rules also provided for compliance with those rules within 3 years, that is by 19. But today, even today also, even after lapse of nearly 6 years, the status of the legacy waste or waste management is at the same time, same place where it was. Now question is, why it is happening? One side there is a huge budget allocation for the waste management, there is a central government, because there is a Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, there is the Prime Minister Gram Vikas Yojana, there are various schemes. For money flows from the central government, money flows from the state government, a lot of money is spent. But still we are searching for the dump sites, not for the management of the waste. This is where there is a need for elaborate discussion why this legacy waste is created. Now legacy waste, the origin of legacy waste, if you look back, now we had the waste earlier also, before all these rules came, before we started managing our waste. See, there is a waste which was there, and it is used to be composted or used recycling or any other method. Because of inclusion of plastic, it is recognized by the UNO also, because of inclusion of the plastic, it created huge menace in creating huge problem of legacy waste, because plastic is one thing which cannot, it is not a biodegradable, and it never dies also. And today we are facing huge task of, and after several decades, now the central government for the first time from July 1st, it has banned the plastic, particularly single-use plastic. And that is very seriously taken now to ban this single-use plastic. Now these are the areas where there is a need for discussion and understand why the legacy waste is coming and what is the impact of legacy waste on the human being, all the living creatures. Right to live is also right to live with all good air and good water and also good environment. Now what about those people just now mentioned? What about those people living surrounding this waste, the dumping site? Because they don't have to go out of that, because most of the villages are abutting these dumping sites. And for example, every city, forget about the small towns and the villages, but every city in Karnataka or Maharashtra, whichever state or elsewhere, other part of our country, the legacy waste is the biggest problem. And the biggest problem is how to solve it, how to manage it. Now, under the rules, you have three types of the management of legacy waste. One is biomining, one is bioremediation, and capping. Now, none of these things are working even effectively, and the legacy waste as it was available is increased because of continued dumping of the legacy waste. Now, today's topic, the discussion which is taken, very important discussion, and most probably the experts and the technical experts and other dignitaries who speak on this topic, they may throw light how to manage this legacy waste. And this will give a eye-opener for the authorities, also the local bodies, to manage the legacy waste. And every time I visited the places, I have emphasized on the legacy waste. And the government also is taking care, and they maybe in sooner they will definitely come out with a problem, come out with a solution. I wish the conference to be successful, and at the end, I will all be participating in this policy making decisions. And at the end, there should be a proper solution that very easily we can manage this legacy waste. Today, what is necessary is the simple, expeditious, cost-effective legacy management. That is most important, and I wish all the dignitaries, all the experts to throw light on this. Thank you very much.
Managing of legacy waste will be indeed challenging, and all of us should strive together so these challenges are met and then we move forward. Thank you, Honorable Justice Sri Subhash B for your address. Due to some exigency, Dr. Harish Kumar is leaving. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence and be a part of the inauguration. We also have with us on the stage Sri Achim Burkart, the Consul General of Germany in Bengaluru. I would request Sri Achim Burkart to kindly give us more insights into this particular aspect.
So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me today. Whenever I heard that topic, I thought I should be here because it's a topic which is very not only dear to myself, but also very important for my government. If the way in which we consume resources does not change, we would need 3 Earths by 2050 to meet our needs. With these haunting words, the European Union describes the importance of waste management in its current action plan for the circular economy. We have to rethink away from society with a throwaway culture and towards a climate-neutral, ecologically sustainable circular economy. This applies not only within the EU, but also beyond. It is important to make better use of the waste generated. And I think the Honourable Chief Judge already mentioned that. This is also confirmed by the Federal Association of German Waste Management, Water and Raw Materials Management, the so-called BDE. And I cite, if you want to achieve the ambitious climate goals and still want to remain a competitive business location, it will not work without a circular economy. We have to move from resource consumption to resource use. Germany is relatively far ahead when it comes to waste management. German technology is also in demand worldwide. The German waste management and recycling industry is regarded internationally as a role model. The companies in the industry offer relevant, proven, and competitive solutions based on the wide range of experience in all areas of waste disposal chain. Technological and entrepreneurial innovations are considered to be the key lever for making the complex circular economy manageable. Waste problems are a particular burden on cities and urban agglomerations worldwide. All of us living here in Bangalore, we realize that day to day. It is estimated that cities in Africa and Asia will double their waste generation in the next 15 to 20 years. However, many developing and emerging countries do not have the necessary structures to deal with the increasing and complex volumes of waste. Although municipalities spend between 20 and 50% of their budgets on the collection and disposal of waste alone, around 2 billion people in the world currently have no access to regulated waste collection. This results, and it was already mentioned, in hygiene and health risks, which mainly affect the poorer section of the population. However, the problem affects everyone. Wide landfills and improperly treated and disposed waste contaminate water, air and soil. In addition, landfill in particular generates significant greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate change. The German and the Indian governments have agreed on projects for sustainable urban development. These projects cooperate in particular with municipal administrations, sorry for that, associations, authorities, ministries, universities, non-governmental organizations, and industry and business representatives, so with the whole of society. The aim of the cooperation is to develop viable, consensual solutions that stakeholders can negotiate and implement in a participatory manner. The informal collectors of recycled materials, who earn a small living by collecting and selling recyclable waste, are, however, important stakeholders too. They are hardly involved in the formal waste management and socially marginalized and work under precarious health conditions. These projects, which I was talking for, also support their integration into integrated recycling and waste management concepts, which can then create new formal jobs in the sense of a green economy, thus improving their health and working conditions and increasing income security. In addition to the opportunities for the informal sector, the environmental service branch offers many other ecological and economic opportunities within the framework of new business models and can make a considerable contribution to climate protection. This potential must be exploited largely in emerging and developing countries. Less waste is to be produced, and the waste produced is to be recycled as far as possible, either materially or even energetically. Non-usable residual materials must be disposed of in an environmentally friendly manner. Our common approach also has to go beyond waste management to changing production and consumption patterns, which play a central role in waste prevention. It all starts with ourselves. The necessary change is taking place over several years, involving political, economic and social change, new structures and technical innovations. This paradigm shift, however, has to be implemented with locally appropriate solution. There is no one-fits-for-all solution, I believe. So, for example, biomining or landfill mining is an effective and eco-friendly process which involves the stabilization of old legacy waste in landfill through recovery of valuable resources. In accordance with circularity, involves reuse, recycle, and recovery, aiming to build up a sustainable resource in order to give protection through the elimination of waste, which also enables a society to become more autonomous and pollution-free. And you already mentioned plastics. Plastics assumed to be remain by an amount of 80% in the landfill. Metal and glass remain by an amount of 75%, and for inert it is assumed that the inert turned into soil-like material under the action of weathering by an amount of about only 5%. So revenue generation from compost product, anaerobic digester, power generation and recycling products will enhance the economy to meet the sustainable circularity solution. These dumpsites have emerged as pollution hubs in the middle of human settlements. And you mentioned Mumbai as one of these towns. As cities have grown over the decades, it even got more important to deal with it. It has therefore become a necessity for the city authorities to reclaim the existing dumpsites in an environmentally sound and economically viable manner. Management of legacy waste should be combined with the integrated waste management facility having adequate capacities for collecting, transporting and disposing of the municipal solid waste produced on a day-to-day basis, as well as legacy waste trapped in the dump site. The revenue-generating fractions can help articulate the circular economy in a sustainable business model for India in the coming years. And actually, we will have the sustainable and circular economy topic as our topic at the Bangalore Tech Summit in autumn this year. So you can see there, high tech and dump sites really come together in this particular area. It can, however, be challenging for all the stakeholders to embrace these tactics in real-life scenarios due to several socio-economic and regulatory factors. There are many uncertainties and unpredictable circumstances that may arise and affect the so-called green businesses. And I just want to give you one example. Just yesterday, in my office, a German company told me, which is working in this field, they will leave India due to the cumbersome procedures and non-payments of bills by the public sector. A lot of money for waste seems unfortunately been wasted. Yes, there's a lot of easy money in this field, but it has to be used rightly to protect citizens from the hazardous conditions. And the last comment. The whole thing starts with all of us and will only be successful if all parts of society see this as a need to protect health, life, and nature. When I was a young boy, and that's about 55 years ago, I'm now over 60, I can remember that some people at that time went into on a remote forest parking place to make an oil change for their car, letting the oil freely flow into nature. If you would do that today in Germany, you would not come away with it. People would see it, call the police, and it will cost you a fortune and probably even a criminal charge. But again, that is a lifespan of over 50 years, and I've seen Germany changing. So I will see India changing over the next decades, and I'm very sure with all your qualities and all your work you're putting into that, you will be successful. Thank you for taking up these topics today in the interest of the Bengalurians, in the interest of the whole of India and mankind at large. Thank you and have a good conference today.
Indeed, golden words from you, sir, and India is definitely changing for good. Thank you very much, Mr Achim Burkart, Consul General of Germany in Bengaluru, for your highly inspiring presentation. Thank you, sir.
ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಮಿಸಿರುವ ಶ್ರೀ ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸುಲು ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ KSPCB ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ.
At this juncture, I would request the dignitaries on the dais to kindly take your seats in the front, because we are now going to start with the keynote and other presentations.
This program is going live actually. Link ಎಲ್ಲ ಶೇರ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಅರ್ಬನ್ ಲೋಕಲ್ ಬಾಡೀಸ್ಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ they have to make use of this program.
Well, we now start with the more deliberations with the keynote speech. We have with us Mr. Sampath Kumar, Managing Director of TIDE Technologies. He's also the founder and CEO. Mr. Sampath Kumar has got close to 3 decades of experience and has worked technical advisors for various departments. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Sampath Kumar.
Good morning. It's a privilege to be here with such a mix of people, the administration, the legal aspect, the technical expert, the practitioners, and also the municipal system. I think it's a very great privilege for me to be here and giving this initial introduction onto this legacy waste and what I think is the way we should be looking at this. Okay, I think more closer to the mic. Justice Adi actually pointed out what is legacy waste. Now, I think I will redo this definition a bit more before I get into what are the next steps to this. So the legacy waste is something which we have not managed the waste in the past and which is now the heap which is lying at the back of our location. Now that's, I think, the legacy waste. Year 2000 was sort of a change when this SWM rules had come. And prior to that, there was an option of people to burn their waste and be happy and forget it. And there was, today when we go back and look at legacy waste, all our legacy wastes are typically of the last 2 decades. Very old legacy wastes are in very few places in large cities and so on. But primarily, even if you take Bangalore, all the legacy waste which is there at this point where we are looking at cleaning them are all less than 2 decades old. And so is everywhere in Karnataka. So legacy waste is the waste which we have not maintained at the past, we have dumped. One thing which changed about 20 years back was we stopped burning. When we were burning, there was really no problem of legacy waste because everything used to get burnt out and go away. Now we are not burning, and so these heaps have started building up, and now there's a heaps available in front of us. Now having got these heaps, now what do we do with this? Now that's, I think, the core of the discussion which is going to be held today. I will point out 3, 4, 5 points from my side as to what my understanding which I have seen over the last 5-6 years when legacy waste management has become very important. Prior to that, another few years back when the sanitary landfill concept was slightly important. Legacy waste as a concept, especially the biomining, is less than 5 years old. I will tell you that much. Prior to that, there was no biomining in India. First thing is this legacy waste which is there. There are 3 strategies. Again, as pointed out by Justice Adi, you could do biomining, you could do bioremediation, and you could do closure, scientific closure of the waste. And all the 3 options are reasonably good options. Bioremediation and biomining are comparatively similar kind of options, and people basically, one is taken as equivalence of the other, although there might be a bit more technical angle. The technical team can actually point out this, there's some more technical part of the bioremediation. Ideally, why would we do an, biomining / bioremediation or an covering the waste and closing it, capping the waste? If you take the cost perspective, capping of waste is about 30% of the cost of the total. If I do biomining, that means I clean up all the waste and remove it. Capping the waste is only about 30% cost. So ideally, I should be doing capping of the waste. But then the question in front of us is that why capping, why biomining? First requirement is that in most of the municipalities, because land for waste management is a big problem. Wherever you want to put up a waste management facility, there's tremendous protest from the local population. So we really don't want to do that. So we would like to recover the land which is available to us as much as possible so that we don't have to go to new lands. Also, new land means environmental clearances, the process is longer, the local permissions have to be taken, more complicated. So I would rather take the old land, clean it up, and then re-put my waste management facility on top. So this is one very important requirement where all of us want to go back to bioremediation. Biomining or bioremediation, what is it? Not for capping. The second reason is that lot of this waste, the old landfill sites were actually outside the city, but today they are all inside the city. And so the property value of this land is so high that if I clean it up, I can actually buy a bigger land outside and take it forward. So it sort of makes sense for me to go back and clean up the land and recover investment and then go back. This is very clearly there in Belgaum. There's a very nice site in Belgaum which is right inside the city. If you clean it up, you can make a lot more money or reuse this land in better fashion than possibly doing the cost of the biomining operation. So these are the 2 critical requirements. If these 2 requirements don't exist, then I think it's more simpler to just simply do capping, close it off, and then use the land for a landfill garden or whatever else and keep going. So now the question is that we sort of have described where we would rather do biomining. There's also this third point which the Consul General pointed out, saying that we want to do circular economy and we want to try and recover as much as possible from this waste which has been put at the back. And can we really talk of this? So that's where the next part comes in terms of biomining. What is the biomining, bioremediation effort which we are doing, which is the core of this. One thing which is there is whenever we are doing biomining, the volume of the waste or the quantity of the waste does not come down. I think that's one thing which all of us need to understand. The only thing which gets out when we are doing biomining is the moisture. And typically how much moisture gets out depending upon whether it's a fresh waste, old waste, etc. My own judgment is about 20% of the waste moisture gets out during the biomining process. It's not more than that. So if 20% of the moisture is going out, that means 80% of the waste which is there has to be removed and transported out of the location. Now that's, I think, the crux of this whole exercise. Now what does this mean? 80% has to be transported means what we essentially are doing, we are basically segregating the waste. We are trying to take out whatever is useful. So we might take out some metal, we might take out some useful plastics, etc., and do the recycle. 2%, 5%, 6%, that's the kind of number. It is not anything more than that. So that means we still have the 75% of the material which is lying there. This 75% of the material then is getting divided into, based on size primarily, but based on also quality, into broadly three categories. One category is sub 4 mm, which we are calling as the bio-earth. And this bio-earth or the, compost or soil is going back to the as soil as compost. How good is this bio-earth? This bio-earth does not meet the FCO standard. You have to be very clear. It doesn't meet the FCO standard. So if we really want to do it, we'll have to do addition to it. We have to do value addition. We have to mix it with existing compost, etc., and go back to the soil. So there's a certain bit of effort out there. The second part is the burnable material. Burnable material would be about 35-40% of this out of the 75%. This material is very clearly, nicely, where you can go off to a power plant or something, or to a cement plant. But unfortunately today the cement plants are not very enthusiastic to take it. They are not very close to us. The costs are very high, and then all these questions come into us. There is this whole possibility that there is one particular option available now to give it also to power plants, some 5 or 10% commitment of trying to use MSW, renewable sources, etc. is there, so maybe it could be linked to that and taken there. Then there is this intermediate phase item, which is basically almost another 25-30% of material, which is basically the thing which is normally would be more than 4 mm size and less than 35 mm size. So this is the inert material. What do we do with this inert material? So there are 2-3 options there. One option there is that we can go and use it as a sort of a sub-base somewhere in some road construction or low-lying filling area for low-lying areas, or building up a quarry back to the original level, and so on and so forth. So these are the 3 options which are available to us, and this is exactly being practiced at this point of time, either officially or unofficially. This is what is being practiced. This is the 3 things which is being practiced, and I think that is where the next point which I see is very important when we go forward in Karnataka for this, is that we need to have a manifest system of documenting where our waste goes after biomining. It's a very critical requirement. Unless we do not want to move a problem from point A to point B, C, D, E, F, G. No, we don't want to do that. We have to have a mechanism where we are going to have a manifest system where all the segregated material, there is a record which is maintained as to where it has gone and where is the end use which has happened. Unless we can put together this manifest system and there is a clarity that yes, it has gone to where it was agreed to upfront, this is not a good idea to be, then biomining loses the purpose, because we are essentially distributing the problem rather than solving the problem. So I think that's one very important requirement. I think that particular in the policy or the regulatory aspect, I think this thing needs to be taken into account. And in this, there's one elephant in the room. The elephant in the room here is fresh waste. Biomining, when it is being done, the understanding is we are basically taking the old waste. But then if I don't have a system for treating the present waste, my today's waste also become biomining. So if when I'm doing a design for a biomining facility in some particular town, I will say, okay, fine, it will take me 2 years to do the biomining effort. For the next 2 years, what the waste is going to come, because my land area is not available, I don't know where to put it, I will have to throw it, so I will put it in the same landfill area, and then what is ending up happening? I'm actually designing my system to say, okay, next 2 years I'll get so much extra waste, so my biomining facility will be based on what is legacy waste plus the fresh waste for the next 2 years. Now this particular thing does not make sense, point number 1. Point number 2, when we are looking forward, we also have to ensure that by the time the legacy waste, assuming even we accept this logic, over the next 2 years when the waste has been cleaned up, are we again going to recreate a legacy waste so that by 2036 we come back and say, okay, we want one more legacy waste project? That doesn't make sense. So we have to have a mechanism of managing the fresh waste concurrent to the legacy waste project, otherwise it is not going to work. We can have simple solutions. Let us at least see, if in legacy waste I can divide it into 3 parts and find 3 different ways to handle the waste, why can't I do it with the fresh waste? Maybe I should be possibly able to do better is what my call is, but I think, although I'm, it's very easy to talk on this podium, I know the experienced people are there on the other side who know exactly what the concerns are and what works and what doesn't work, but I think from a person who is talking at this start of the conference, not at the end of the conference, I think I have got this liberty to tell that, this is the kind of thing which needs to be done. The last point of all this is the following. We have got a solution, we have got a plan, we have got an execution. But what is very evident is this legacy waste project in each of the town, we are going to be possibly, Karnataka possibly has got about a 240 towns. Maybe out of this 240 towns, maybe 100 towns or 120 towns will be requiring this legacy waste management, I would presume. If you're talking of 120 towns wanting legacy waste management, each town has a unique condition. So how are we as an system going to handle this? That one thing which you have to be clear is there's a learning effort in this. There's a learning and coordination. There is no, the private sector is the villain, the government is the nice fellow. No, not true. The government and the private sector, the municipality and the department and the private sector and whoever is doing this work are part of a common system. The knowledge, where is available, the consultants, the experts, all of them have to be part of a system which tries to find out solutions as we go forward. Unless we are going to be able to take this particular role forward and say, okay, fine, we are working together for this to improvement. We are not trying to find fault, but we are trying to find a common solution. Like one simple thing, if this material of between 4 and 35 mm is lying there, where do I find a low-lying area? Where can I get to the road? Where can I put it as a sub-base? Unless we have an understanding, which I'm sure the private sector, somebody is coming in from Tamil Nadu and doing the work in possibly Davangere. That person does not know what is Davangere. And suddenly we are saying, Davangere mein karo yaar. How you do this? Madri, that is not going to work here. We have to be able to, the government has to be part of the system, the municipality has to be part of the system, there has to be a coordination and a conscious learning effort which has to go on. Then I'm sure this thing can be actually made to work along the line. Okay, I think I will end with telling two scenarios which I am seeing. One is the best case scenario as I see it another 3 to 5 years down the line, because I am sure in the way things are going, in the next 5 years we are out of the legacy waste problem. I'm fairly sure the kind of investments which are being done by the department, the kind of money which is being put in, and the kind of interest which is being coming in from the consultants and the contractors and others. 5 years is the kind of time frame I am giving myself in Karnataka for us to solve this problem. Now, if you're taking 5 years as a time frame, elsewhere people are being more aggressive, but I am, slightly more, because I have seen Karnataka for the last 30 years of my life, and I have been with this team here for the last 30 years of my life. I am a bit more, 5-year kind of a reasonable time frame we should put. What is the best case scenario and what is the worst case scenario, which we are going to be looking at? The best case scenario, the legacy waste is out. All the waste which has been separated and given out elsewhere is done in a very environmentally friendly fashion. Third thing, we have already a good alternate system for managing the fresh waste into place, so that after that we are not coming back to this legacy waste. That's my best case scenario. What's my worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is that we are basically doing random dumping of waste. The waste from the legacy waste goes into some sort of an uncontrolled mechanism of dumping. That means we have distributed the pollution. Worst case. The fresh waste is not treated. So you are again recreating a legacy waste, so that 15 years down the line we are again coming back and saying, okay, we have to have a legacy waste problem, let's solve it. I think this is is the two best case and the worst case scenario. I would hope that I'm sure we are not going to be in the worst case. I hope we are as close to the best case as possible. I'm 100% sure that, at all the locations the best case may not be possible, but at least if we are at 70 to 80% towards the best case, I would be thrilled. I thank the team for inviting me, and thanks everybody for listening to me patiently, and the best for this conference. Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you would all agree with me that those were words of high positive intent, and in the next 5 years, hopefully we'll be out of this legacy waste. Thank you, sir, for your highly thought-provoking keynote address, Shri Sampath Kumar.